All praise is due to Allah, and peace be upon His chosen servant. And then, by the grace of Allah, we are still continuing our blessed and virtuous series, which is titled The Tolerance of Islam. And by Allah's grace, we are also still discussing the tolerance of Islam towards prisoners of war. And if you wish, you could specify further and say about the tolerance of the beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, with prisoners of war, and about the tolerance of the Prophet's noble companions, may Allah be pleased with them, towards prisoners of war. And in the past 2 episodes, we have heard much about this. But as I said, I will bring you a surprise and something new, God willing. But for now, it is enough for me to remind everyone that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, instructed that the hungry among the prisoners be fed. He instructed that the naked among the prisoners be clothed. He instructed that the frightened among the prisoners be reassured. It did not stop at this point, but I also want you to remember that when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was brought the prisoners and saw a man wearing a worn-out, torn garment that exposed his nakedness and so on, he took off his own garment and gave it to him. Now, come with me, everyone, to the beautiful and new topic that we will delve into, God willing, in this context, by the grace of Allah, the Almighty. Abdullah ibn Umar said, someone might ask me, well, what about the thing you're about to mention? What does it have to do with them? What about the property of the prisoners? You will understand in a moment. You will understand soon. How can kindness be extended? Even to whom? Kindness should be shown to all of God's creation, the Almighty. Pay close attention with me, except, of course, where there are limits set by Allah, the Almighty. That is an exception. All right, now pay attention to what he says next. A woman was punished because of a cat she had confined. A woman was punished because of a cat, not just any cat, but specifically one she had confined. No, she confined it until it died. She confined it until it died. She became responsible. Of course, now you might have a bird, you're raising a bird at home. For example, you might be raising some birds like finches, ornamental birds, or something similar like a parrot or the like. If you keep it confined, that's fine. So you can enjoy watching it. There's nothing wrong with that. But with one condition, feed it, give it water, and provide it with air. Make sure it has fresh air so it doesn't die. If you do that for it, there's nothing wrong and you bear no sin in that. But if you confine it and then deprive it of food and water, then you have killed it and you are responsible for that. That's why here in the narration it says she was tormented. The narration uses the word tormented with a kasra on the letter dal, and tormented. I'm not saying it was just mentioned as is, but as it appears in some narrations. No. A woman was tormented because of a cat she kept confined until it died, even for a cat. It means, uncle, even a cat killing 1,000 cats is still killing. No. Local compassion extends to all creatures, even to a weak cat, to a helpless kitten. No, in this compassion, you must not belittle it or the soul within it, nor cause it to lose its life by God's will. Of course, in this case, you are sinful and will be punished for it. That is, you deserve punishment. That's why look at the beauty of our tolerance, so you don't say otherwise. But this is just tolerance with Muslims. Tolerance applies to Muslims, to prisoners from among the polytheists, to the enemies of the faith, to everyone. This tolerance exists because it is an Islamic virtue, a quality found in Islam. Pay attention. When we say here that a woman was punished because she imprisoned a cat until it died, so she entered the fire, she entered the fire. Of course, she was punished because she entered the fire. Pay attention, everyone. It was because she neither fed nor gave it water, nor did she let it go to eat from the insects of the earth. Meaning, she neither fed and gave it water while she kept it locked up, nor did she let it go free so it could eat from what it found on the ground and drink from anywhere to survive. She deprived it of its freedom and withheld food and water from it, causing its death. So she entered the fire and was punished because of it. This incident, of course, is recorded by Imam al-Bukhari in his Sahih and by Muslim in his Sahih. Now, look at what comes next. So what do you think, everyone? What do you think, everyone, about this matter I'm telling you now? In the past, of course, during wars, when one tribe defeated another or one army defeated another, there would be captives. Among these captives were women and children and so on. They used to separate mothers from their children, that is, a woman and her children would be taken, and they would separate the mother from her children. The children would be taken as captives and distributed, and the mother would be taken elsewhere and on. Of course, this would result in suffering, terrible suffering for the mother. Why? Because that's a mother's heart, everyone. And it's well known that a mother's heart is full of mercy for her children. She was created and born with that nature. In her heart, there is immense compassion for her children. So anyone who separates a woman from her children is committing a truly grave crime. Why? Because he has deprived the woman of her children and also caused suffering to the children. He has deprived the children of their mother, especially when there is an infant involved. When there is a small child who needs his mother's care, all of these things are acts of cruelty, sheer cruelty. Now, let's talk about the tolerance and leniency in Islam, especially when it comes to war in Islam. No, Islam never allows separating a mother from her children. Why? Because that would be an act of cruelty, a degrading cruelty and torment. Torment for those involved, torment for the mother and torment for the children. Come with me now and let's listen to this hadith. But before we do, Let me tell you, our Prophet, peace be upon him, commanded kindness towards captives and forbade separating a mother from her children who fall into captivity. There is an authentic, well-established hadith from our Prophet, peace be upon him, about this. Who narrated this hadith to us? Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. But before I share the hadith with you, let me tell you a story that happened to the companion who narrated the hadith. It happened to the companion who narrated the hadith, who is that Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari went out with an army of Muslims to confront the enemies of Allah, the Almighty. Allah granted victory to the Muslims. And Allah granted the Muslims victory over the enemies of the Muslims. The one who granted victory here was the ally of the Muslims. They defeated the enemies of the Muslims. Then, as usual, people didn't really understand the matter yet. It was just something ordinary to them. So what did they do? When these people fell captive to the Muslims or into the hands of the Muslims, they separated mothers from their children. Of course, they separated them, and the children kept screaming and crying, and the women cried and screamed, and there was a lot of wailing because mercy is needed. Look at what happened here. What exactly happened was that when the separation took place and the crying increased, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari returned and reunited every child with their mother. This child, he returned him to his mother. This group of children, he returned them to their mother. This woman had lost 3 children, he returned them to her. If she had lost 1 child, he returned him to her, and so on. He returned all the children to their mothers. Look, everyone, this is what a true leader is. This is Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Why? Because he was the one who went out with the army and by God's will was victorious. And he had heard the hadith from our Prophet, peace be upon him. So he returned the children to their mothers. Look at this. Just look at this. Because the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said in a well-known hadith, whoever separates a mother from her child, Allah the most merciful, will separate that person from his loved ones on the Day of Judgment. This powerful statement emphasizes the importance of maintaining the bond between a mother and her child and warns of the serious consequences that await those who break this sacred relationship. Whoever separates a mother from her child, Allah will separate him from his loved ones on the Day of Judgment. So should I blame our Prophet for saying that? I am simply carrying out the orders of our Prophet. And what are the orders of our Prophet? Except what? Compassion, and mercy towards these people. And so by the will of Allah, the matter was settled and the children were returned to their mothers. And this is one of the acts of compassion in Islam. Until I meet you all again in the next episode, I say to everyone, peace be upon you and the mercy and blessings of Allah